2 games left to go for the 49ers, including Monday when the Detroit Lions stroll back into town for the first time since the NFC Championship Game. If you were thinking maybe the Lions wouldn't care that much about this game because they're going to be in the playoffs and they're good, think again. Dan Campbell gave us a big clue about their mindset, and it is not good for the 49ers. We'll talk about it on today's Gold Standard podcast, brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast on the Gold Standard and the Fans First Sports Network. I'm Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Levin Black. We are playing hurt today. We're playing through it. Much like the 49ers themselves, Levin and I are just crumbling at the end of the season.
Yeah. Let's hope we don't play like crap through it like the 49ers have.
Yeah, let's hope. Bay Marin says, hi, Rob, Levin. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Bay. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the support. So I have been in agony since Saturday with this shoulder pinched nerve thing. I was finally able to sleep in my own bed last night, which is good. So we're slightly getting better. Levin has COVID, so he's battling through that. It's a struggle here with 2 games to go.
Yeah, you said you have to do everything with your left hand. Does it feel like there's a stranger in the house?
Let me tell you, it's not been ideal, okay? I figured out that the right side of the body treats the left side of the body like an idiot. Hey, you idiot, hold this jar. Hey, hold this, pick this up. Dude. Like the right hand does all the important tasks, right? Any of the fine motor skills, anything like that. The left side has basically just been useless. They've been getting the A on the group project without really doing anything for all these years. It has been a rude awakening. But enough about us. Let's talk about the 49ers, shall we? It's been a minute. I don't think I've ever gone like 4 or 5 straight days without talking about the 49ers, doing a show somewhere, a radio hit, something. So I got a lot of thoughts bottled up. We're going to unkink the hose, and they're all going to come spewing out one after another. Let's start with this Lions game on Monday. I have been saying as soon as it was on the schedule that the Lions are going to be out for blood, that they are not going to just want to win the game. They are going to want to embarrass the 49ers because they want revenge for the NFC Championship game. They want to show everybody that it was a fluke, that they slip away, that they have the offense. Forget Kyle Shanahan's offense. Talk about Ben Johnson's offense, all that stuff. And then I heard Dan Campbell speak earlier this week. And let's just say he confirmed everything I thought. Here's Dan Campbell.
It's easy for everybody. That way all the critics can jump out and start attacking. But that way you don't have to debate them anymore. We're bringing everything we got to this game, and we are playing, and I don't care what it looks like and where it's at or who's this, who's that. We're going out to play and win this game out on the West Coast. So there you go.
So there's Dan Campbell. They're bringing it. And I thought it was interesting because I listened to the press conference, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. I am pretty sure he never actually said the word 49ers. He never named them. He said that team, that defense, those guys were going to the West Coast, you heard. He won't even say the name, Levin.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely going to come out with a little extra for this game. They probably did save some stuff for this game, expecting it to be a clash for the number 1 seed.
It's possible.
But it's also, I mean, they're getting asked that because the Eagles lost. So they essentially have the 1 seed locked up. So the context there is, are you resting? Because you're likely to get the 1 seed even if you lose the next 2. That's the scenario that they're in. And that's his answer is no, we're bringing everything. And I think he's going to say the same thing next week. No, we're bringing everything. Even if they decide to rest some people in the final week, he's going to say, yeah, we're resting Goff and Gibbs, but we're bringing everything. You know what I mean?
Well, they can't. So here's the thing. They're tied right now 13-2 with Minnesota, and they play the Vikings the final week of the season. So that's what I think what the context is. I want to check the schedule really quick. The Vikings, I'm trying to see, do the Vikings play before? Yeah, so the Vikings play on Sunday. So if the Vikings lose and the Lions win, they would have a game advantage, but they play each other. So there's really no, like, it comes down to Detroit and Minnesota. So that's why he was like, hey, we're still going to go hard. I don't care if you criticize me. But like, if you're Dan Campbell, is somebody else going to get injured? Like, you've had 50 million injuries. So I totally get that. But I do look at this as sort of like a pride check for the 49ers, right? They know the Lions want to embarrass them. They know what they're playing for. Go out there, don't get embarrassed. I mean, they're going to pull out all sorts of stuff, laterals to offensive linemen. They're going to look to embarrass you. If you're the 49ers, show a little pride. You're probably not going to win this game because they're a much better team than you are. But don't get embarrassed. Like, the Buffalo game was an embarrassment, Levin. When they're throwing the ball to Josh Allen and he's running in touch, they were embarrassing the 49ers. That can't happen again, especially on your own field.
Yeah, first off, off to a great start, mixing up the Chiefs playoff situation with the Lions. I'd like to blame COVID, but I made a mistake, and whether it's COVID or not, whatever. But you're going to be disappointed. This is not going to be a fun game. It's going to be an embarrassment on primetime Monday Night Football. One of those situations where you can't hide it. If you play it at a 1 o'clock or a 4 o'clock game on Sundays, there's other games on, so it doesn't quite get the attention that a Sunday Night Football or a Monday Night Football. This is going to be the announcement, the parade starting of the Lions saying, we own the NFC. That's what this game is. This is all right. You want to own the NFC. Mm-hmm. You got the record right now. You're the best team among the teams that were good last year, but you haven't beaten the Niners yet. So go out. Yeah, it's a down year for them, but go out and beat them. And now you can call yourselves the kings of the NFC. If you lose this game, you know what the narrative is going to be. Yeah, the Niners aren't making the playoffs, but they're still got the Lions numbers. The Lions still wouldn't get through them. They're just lucky they're not in the playoffs this year.
Could be. And it'd be like, hey, the Niners are really banged up. I mean, we all know the names, right? No Christian McCaffrey, no Trent Williams. We know the defensive issues as well. No Ayuk, obviously. So, yeah, I could see that. I do agree with you that it would be there. Like, I hate the term passing of the torch because that implies that the 49ers would willingly give it up. No team willingly gives up the torch. The torch is taken. It's pulled out of cold, dead fingers sometimes. But that's what it essentially would be. Yeah. You're right. It would be the Lions saying, it's our conference now. Come and get us, everybody. We took down the big, bad 49ers, even though they're just bad this year. They're not big. But I agree, and I'm sure that's what they're thinking. I'm absolutely sure that is what they're thinking, and more power to them. And I'm not like, if the Lions are up by 30 at the end of the game and they throw it on 4th down for another touchdown, you're not going to see me complaining. Like, no. If they get the chance to embarrass the 49ers, I fully expect them to do it, and I wouldn't expect anything less, quite frankly. And we'll see. Kyle Shanahan spoke this week, and I didn't love what he said. He was asked, like, how do you motivate your guys? Because there's nothing left to play for. And his answer was, well, we're all professionals, and if you're not motivated, if you need somebody else to motivate you, you're probably not the kind of guy we want around here. And it's like, no, dude. It's your job to motivate them. That's part of being the head coach. It's your job to motivate them. And maybe it's just, I don't know, he didn't have a good answer to the question, or I don't know what, but I didn't love that answer from Kyle.
The correct answer is, clearly things have gone amiss and we need to retool some in the offseason. The motivation is, do you want to be part of this team next year or not? That's the motivation.
Right.
Do you want to still have a job after this year, or do you want us to move on from you? That's your motivation. Go out and show us what you got to see if we need to keep you around in 2025. Because if you don't show us anything, we're getting rid of anybody and everybody that has not shown us that they are deserving of the contract that they have. Period. End of story.
Yeah, maybe they should hire you as a media consultant. That was pretty good. John Shoup has a good point. Says it wouldn't really mean that the Lions own the NFC, though. Philly, Minnesota, and Green Bay are also there. Yeah, but if the Lions beat the 49ers and also get back to the NFC Championship game for the second straight year, I feel like you would kind of consider them the best team in the NFC.
Well, I mean, the narrative for now, I mean, playoffs will change everything. Playoffs always change everything. You know, if the Chiefs don't make the Super Bowl, their narrative will be, oh, there's been a changing of the guard in the AFC, even though it's happened one time. You know, and the Chiefs have 3 Super Bowls in recent years. That'll still be the narrative. The narrative coming out of this game, if the Lions win, is that they own the NFC now, that they have dethroned the 49ers. They are the team that was in the NFC Championship game last year that should have won the NFC Championship game last year, but blew whatever you want to call they blew in the second half to lose that game. So they fixed their wrong and went out and exercised the demons of that big loss by beating that team, and now they're there ready for their crowd.
Yeah, I agree. The narrative with the playoffs, it will, like, if the Vikings go out in the first round, right, or the first game, people are not going to say like, well, they're competing with the Lions for the NFC. It's going to be like, no, they're the Vikings. They're one and done. It's like same old Vikings. But if the Lions are back in the NFC Championship game for the second straight year, and if they get the number 1 seed, then NFC Championship game would be in Detroit, whereas last year it was in San Francisco. So that would almost be like them taking another step forward. Now they'd be hosting the NFC Championship game rather than traveling.
Yeah, there's a I would say better than 50-50 shot that there is an all NFC North NFC Championship game. Whether it's Green Bay, Detroit, Minnesota, 2 of those 3 I would say is 50-50, better than 50-50 making it, with Philly the only other possibility. I don't see a big upset. I don't see one of those other wild card teams or the NFC West champ making it.
I like this point from Rusty Van Vuren, who says, plus, time for Red 47, a.k.a. John Lynch's alter ego, to make a locker room visit for players to have a desire for a job next year. That'd be a hell of a message, right? You got Kyle and John in there in the locker room. Hey, you want to be here next year? You think we're going to be better next year? Well, we might be, but that might not include you. So let's see it, because otherwise right now, you're on thin freaking ice. I wouldn't mind it.
If I'm John Lynch and I'm doing that, I walk in with a stack of pink slips and say, some of you will be getting these, some of you will not. If you don't want one, go show it out there.
First place is a set of steak knives. Second place is you're fired.
Or pull the whole major league thing, you know, where they hang the red
tag in the locker.
Just come in with red tags and tape and say, some of these will be hanging in your locker after the next 2 games. So take these last 2 games as a chance to show that you don't deserve one of these hanging in your locker.
How will you feel? I mean, obviously, if the 49ers somehow win this game, I'm not going to be like, oh, everything's great now. But I'd be pretty damn happy because the Lions still have something to play for. And it would at least show me that, like, it's still in there somewhere deep, buried beneath a lot of crap. Like that, yeah, it didn't work out this year. But if they're good enough to beat the Lions, then maybe we don't have as much work to do this offseason to get back to where we want to be. And maybe
don't lie to yourself. There's lots of work to do.
Well, there's lots of work, but maybe less than I thought. And so
one game is one game. I am fully in the mode of, I'm never going to be upset about a win. I'm not going to be mad about the win. But my ideal situation is go out there, make it a really close game, battle, have some big plays on offense, some big plays on defense. Neither side looks terrible. Neither side obviously can look great then, but neither side looks terrible. But the Lions get the ball last, and they get a field goal to win it. And so the Niners draft position is better, but they didn't embarrass themselves, and there's good things coming from the offense and the defense coming out of the game.
Well, yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the offense. I mean, I'm just going to read the numbers. 17 against Miami, 6 against the Rams. They did put up 38 against Chicago, but only 10 against Buffalo, 10 against Green Bay, 17 against Seattle. And really, they only scored 23 in the win against Tampa coming out of the bye week. This offense has stunk since the bye.
Yeah, I see people in the comments saying I'm echoing. I'm hearing it occasionally. I honestly think it's probably Rob's setup because he had some issues before we went on air, and it's not consistent. So I hear it sometimes. I'm not hearing it right now, but I heard it last time I was talking, and then I heard it a couple times ago before that. So I see your comments. I don't know that there's much we can do about it, honestly. But yeah, the
Everything
offense is broken. What's
the
that?
offense is broken. I'm broken. The
Yeah.
setup is broken.
It is what it is this week. Quite honestly, I don't really care.
I'm sorry. I'll
But yeah, the offense is completely broken. It's broken to the point that it does make me wonder: do they need a true overhaul? Change it completely up. Kyle, are you a good enough offensive coordinator and humble enough, which I think is the bigger question, to scrap what you've been doing because it is clearly not working? And if you want to say, oh, but it will work with Christian McCaffrey and Brandon Ayuk back and Trent Williams, that's why it's not working. You could say that about any offense. If your offense is truly a difference maker, it's going to be decent, much better than what we've seen with a Brock Purdy at quarterback and a decent run game that has existed up until this last game when they pretty much abandoned it. But there's enough talent still there to be a decent offense right now. I'm not expecting 30-plus points, but a decent offense that moves the ball consistently is still possible if your offense is truly a difference maker of a scheme. If your offense isn't a difference maker of a scheme, then it's offensive scheme is the same as a quarterback to me. If you don't have a difference maker, change it.
Antonio says, fun fact, Lions have the best offense in the league at 2.99 points per drive. Since 2000, only the 07 Patriots, 2018 Chiefs, and 2020 Packers have had better offenses. They're absolutely cooking right now in Detroit. And I think the difference, honestly, is Detroit's offensive line can run block. And that sets up everything. They protect Goff. They can run the ball. They can stay out of 3rd and long, and they move the chains. And the 49ers run blocking has been awful for the most part. Since it was good early in the year, but it has fallen off to now. It's comical how bad the run game is. They can't do it at all. And I know they've had some injuries on the offensive line, but I really think it stems from there. And so whether it's this game we're talking about or whether it's going into the offseason and into next year, you have to improve the offensive line. You have to improve the run blocking. Everything unlocks in this offense when they can run the ball. And when they can't, it stalls out.
I hear you, and that is definitely the biggest issue with the offense. I'm not going to question that. The biggest issue is the offensive line is very limiting in all respects. But you also see the Lions being much like the Chiefs, where they're willing to try anything. They are willing to do something completely out of scheme to throw you off. You saw last week with the whole, yelling fumble and pretending it was a fumble type play. You see innovation with them. I don't see that with the 49ers. The first sign I saw that was last week when they said, screw it, we can't do anything else. We're going screens. Where has that been? Why haven't you been running that? You know what screens counteract? A pass rush that just comes after you. When the opposing team knows you're doing 5 and 7 step drops every single play that you're going back to pass, they know that they can tee off, that they can do a speed rush. When you do screens, they have to hesitate. They have to wait to see if that tight end is going to go for the screen or if he's just, feigning the block to go there. That is the adjustment that, we were saying that in week 2. Where's the screens to take care of the pass rush against the other team? So that's what I'm talking about the scheme-wise. Like, I'm not seeing anything other than Kyle saying, we're going to do what we're going to do, and it's up to them to block it. You got to change. You got to adjust for what you have.
I loved the screens that they were running last week. They did screens to Kittle. They did some to Debo. I love the Debo that we got last week too, frankly. Please, could we have that Debo Samuel again, since he's still going to be playing for the 49ers this week? Sign me up for more of that. Antonio says, before the Brandon Ayuk injury, the Niners scored 27 points a game. After the Ayuk injury, 16 points a game. Neither of these numbers includes the Chiefs game. Good players matter. Of course, good players matter. Any offense is going to be better with good players than bad players. But the thing is, the 49ers, even with the injuries, still have had enough good players on offense to be able to score more than they have. Period. Maybe not what they could have if everybody was there, but they still have plenty of talent on offense to move the ball. So I don't want to put it all on missing Trent Williams or missing Brandon Ayuk. I don't think that's accurate when we're assessing the problems with the offense. Khan says, who's had a more worse year, Purdy or Stroud? I know that Stroud did not look good yesterday. What was your takeaway of the NFL on Netflix? I didn't watch a ton of the second game. I was in and out because I had to do some traveling for the holiday. I watched most of the first game. I had no issue with the broadcast on Netflix in the first game.
The first game the first game I got to watch on local TV because it was Pittsburgh. So I didn't even go to Netflix. I was like, okay. I can't trust Netflix. I'm not going to Netflix. I have it on local TV anyways. The second game, when I went over, the audio was not synced up. When they were doing the pregame where they had the people in the booth and they were talking, it was like a half second off and it was driving me nuts. And then the volume was so low, which Netflix, and I know this is not just me because I've Googled it, Netflix volume is much lower than almost all other apps. I don't know why. It is that way. I don't know if it's specific to Vizio, but I've Googled it and there's like literally countless Reddit threads about why is Netflix volume so much lower than all other apps. But I had to double my normal Netflix volume.
Wow.
Netflix is normally doubled from, the Disney Plus, the Peacock, the Paramount, whatever other. I usually have to double it when I go to Netflix. I had to double that again. So whoever was controlling their volume messed that up. But the volume never increased, but the sync seemed to take care of itself. It's hard to tell once the game's going on because a half second's not enough to make the play seem off, and you can't see people's mouths moving. But it worked well enough. I'll say that. If it was the buffering nightmare that they've had in other sporting events, live events, then I would say it's a one and done. Netflix, you're never allowed to have NFL again because they have had that buffering issue multiple times already for live events. If you can't handle it, you've had your first mistake. You had your second mistake. You don't get a third try. You don't get the third mistake. So I think it was good enough that they'll continue as far as Netflix goes. CJ Stroud, though, yeah. This season has been, I think, if you asked a Houston fan and got the most pessimistic one possible of what they thought the worst Stroud could do, this is it, because he's not been good this year.
Yeah, Houston is I've seen some people even calling for DeMeco Ryans' job, which is just insane to me, but that's how fan bases are. Stroud's, could be a little sophomore slump here. It happens to the best of them. We'll see if he can work it out. Obviously, they'll be in the playoffs, so we'll see what ends up happening. Hugh Jassel says, when you see Brock throw late game picks when he has open receivers, it's hard to say all he needs is more help. That's a completely fair comment from Hugh Jassel.
I was going to say, did you recognize the name at first? Or
come on. Of course, we're going to have a little fun. I got to have some fun somewhere.
I like the photo, too.
But Brock has thrown some bad picks late. And I was saying this, I can't remember who I said it to. It might have been you.
Reaction.
Yeah. Like when he drops back to pass, I'm scared again. I'm scared like I was scared with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Nah, I'm not there.
Like you get to certain moments in the game and you're like, God, it feels like Brock's about to throw a pick here. And I get everything that they were trying to say, well, the corner was squatting and this, that, and the other thing. I don't care, man. Against the Rams, that's what they said. The corner was squatting and Brock had to throw it because it was pressure. And so he just threw it up there because it looked like it might have been good and he had pressure in his face. You don't need to attempt that throw in that spot. And it's the same thing we saw last week against Miami. He's trying to make an incredibly difficult throw on first down or early in the possession when it's just not needed. And there are open guys on the check down. And I don't know if I don't know what it is with Brock, but I feel like this year he has just ignored checkdowns and it's hurt the team.
It's if he could fix that one issue, and I'm not talking specifically checkdowns. I'm talking about the issue of not knowing when to give up. Half his interceptions disappear. His season is, obviously still not great because they haven't been putting up many points, but it's not nearly as bad. It's the interceptions that are inexcusable. Like, he doesn't have that many touchdowns. That's one thing. but to not have that many touchdowns, but still be throwing a high rate of interceptions, that's the real backbreaker. And the problem is a lot of those interceptions come on plays when he's trying in a last-ditch effort to get the ball out rather than take the sack.
Or throw it away.
And in doing that, he's throwing while getting hit. And that leads to interceptions for the best of quarterbacks. For the weaker armed quarterbacks, that leads to interceptions at a much higher rate because they don't have the arm strength to overcome it. Josh Allen getting hit as he throws doesn't affect him nearly as much as Brock Purdy getting hit when he throws. That's just a simple, physics, whatever you want to get into thing. And that's my problem. Like, Brock, throw it away. And we saw that a few times in that game where it's like, Brock, you have a chance to throw it away, and he doesn't. There's even one where he had a chance to throw it away. He chose not to, and then he just kind of went out of bounds 2 yards shy of the first down or of the line of scrimmage. It's like, throw it away. There's no reason to ever run over to the sideline when you know you can't actually scramble for positive yards. Throw it away at that point. And that's the problem. He never gives up. And it's the problem is that's a really fine line. And to me, I think it's one of the things that it takes the player fixing it, because if a coach comes in and tries to harp on that, you break the player. Because what makes Brock so good is that he is willing to stand in there. He never does give up. It's his confidence. If you come in and you say, give up on it, take the dang sack, you're going to break that. And so it's up to him to know, when do I need to be confident and when do I just need to give up on this play and hope that we can make up for it on the next one.
Rusty says D's are setting traps for him. Been clear to see since last year's Christmas game against the Ravens. I don't know if I totally agree with that. Some of the Ravens were just tips. Some of the Ravens were, like you said, Brock not giving up and just throwing it away or taking a sack. And then he tries to throw late across his body. He doesn't have arm strength to zip it in there late. So if he does throw it late, defenders are able to see it ahead of time and make a play on it. You gotta just know. And it's a tough thing to know, but Brock, I feel like, has been in the league long enough to know now. Sometimes you hang with it and something develops, and you got to know, you got to manage the situation. First down, you got an unblocked rusher and he's coming, and you don't have room to scramble. Just throw it away. Don't try to make him, just throw it away and go to second.
Don't try the layered pass when there's a guy in your face. That's my issue. Like, everybody's saying, oh, he's layered it so many times. Yeah, but you can't layer it when you're getting hit as you try to layer it. That's when he has to give up. That's why it's a mistake. That's why that interception is 100% on him. It's not on the offensive line allowing him to get hit. It's him trying to make the most difficult possible throw where you have to have absolute pinpoint accuracy, because if it's a little bit behind, it's intercepted. If it's a little bit ahead, it's intercepted. If it's a little long, it's intercepted. And if it's a little short, it's intercepted. It has to be perfect accuracy to get the completion. You don't attempt those passes when you have a guy in your face and you're literally staring down the barrel of the gun as you're trying to make that pass, because you know when you get hit, it's not going to be a perfectly accurate ball. And that's what that pass calls for. So don't make them. Those are when you have to give up. So it's still 100% of that interception is on Brock.
At least you don't attempt that on first down. If it's fourth down, hey, you got to at least throw a ball up there, right? Give somebody a chance. Maybe you get a flag, whatever, but not on first down. And you brought up another good point. Just because the quarterback gets hit doesn't excuse the decision. Yes, I get that it might affect where a pass ends up, but it doesn't excuse the decision to throw the ball in that case. You don't just give the quarterback a complete pass because somebody made contact with him while he was throwing, which is what so many people did in that Miami game. And I just thought it was crazy, to be honest with you. And I know Johnny Dale's put out film and he said that Brock was trying to make the layered pass. I love Johnny. We just disagree on that play. I don't think he was throwing the ball where Johnny said he was throwing the ball, because if you look, he gets hit and the ball is still a perfect spiral. It's not like the ball spun out and went in a totally different direction. He was not throwing it, to me, where Johnny said. He was throwing it to close to where it got intercepted, and it got intercepted, and that was the end of that. And there's too many excuses for Brock. Oh, well, there's injuries. Oh, well, he got hit when he threw. Oh, well, this. There's too many instances where he has the ball late in his hands. The Niners need a touchdown, and he doesn't get it done. Period. End of story.
Yes, but I think we're a little different because I think you're pretty sold on that's what Brock is, and I'm pretty sold on I still think that can change. That's not something that we saw too much in previous seasons. There were times that we saw it, but not nearly this much. And I do think that you can limit Brock's biggest weakness, which I think is that, by having an offensive line that isn't complete and total trash in front of him. Like, if you have a quarterback that doesn't know when to give up, how do you limit that weakness? By having an offensive line that can actually protect for 3 to 4 seconds.
It definitely has to improve. There's no question about it. It has to be a priority in a way that it hasn't been, and not just like, okay, we want to get better, but hopefully something falls to us. Like, no, we need to go out of our way to get it better. And there was a lot of talk of it this preseason. Kyle talked about it. Chris Forster, the offensive line coach, talked about it. Their philosophy is if it comes down to an offensive lineman or a special skill player, they go with the special skill player. That can't be the philosophy this offseason. They got enough of those guys. They have enough. You have Ayuk, you have McCaffrey, you have Kittle, you have Debo, you have Pearsall, you have Colling. I get that they're not all pros, whatever. You have enough to make it work. You don't have enough on the offensive line. It has to change, and hopefully it will. By the way, I just saw this, Levin. Teddy Bridgewater coming out of retirement to join the Detroit Lions. I don't know why. It looks like there's a couple Lions fans in the chat. There's nothing wrong with Jared Goff, right? Like, I don't understand why the Lions would do this. Okay, I mean, whatever. It's fine. You can add a backup quarterback. It just seems odd to me that they would make any quarterback move without an injury.
I think who their backup is.
Yeah, I don't even know who their backup is, but like, is Teddy Bridgewater off the street a better option than their backup? Teddy was also a guy, by the way, who never had a strong throwing arm, since we're talking about that. I don't know if is there something wrong with any quarterback in the Lions room? I have no idea, but I did see that. So I wanted to make everybody aware of it. Teddy Two Gloves back in the NFL, fresh after winning like a high school state championship as the head coach.
I mean, I don't blame Teddy Bridgewater. Hey, I might get at the very least an NFC Championship ring out of this. But it is possible, and we should say this, that they wanted to sign him in the offseason, and he said, I'm coaching. And they said, well, we'll bring you in at the end of the year.
Yeah, maybe.
And that they've been keeping him in the loop. You know what I mean? It is possible that they've given him some playbooks, or at least kept him in the loop enough to where he can come in and he's up to speed to a certain aspect so that it's not quite as much. And then that way they have experience behind Goff in case he does get hurt in the playoffs, at least have a fighting chance. Then that might be the thought. And, you know, there's possibilities there. I seriously doubt they just was like, oh, high school playoffs are over. Let's contact Teddy Bridgewater for no reason. They had to have been in contact with him previously.
Hendon Hooker is the backup behind Jared Goff. So, yeah, I could see them wanting to improve. It just seems like an odd time. But like you said, maybe they'd been in touch and whatever. Nicholas Parra, thanks for the super chat, says BCB is getting shrinkage this year. Cold and wet weather is definitely affecting him. Sorry, had to do it. Happy holidays, everyone. Go Niners. The weather thing is a real thing, too. Yeah. There's a lot of Brock question marks this offseason. And
what's affecting Bosa?
Yeah, I don't know. The lack of talent on the rest of the defensive line, perhaps? I still don't think.
Has he ever had a lot of talent on the defensive line? You're telling me that his statistics have dropped, 20 to 40% across the board, whether it's pressures, sacks, quarterback hits, whatever you want, simply because Eric Armstead is not there?
He has not been healthy, and he has not been nearly as good. Really. I mean, he hasn't been. Last week, I mean, did he even play in the game last week? Did they even announce his name a single time? I can't remember.
Look, it's weird to harp on a guy that's going to have double-digit sacks, or is on pace for that. But the fact is, he's the highest paid defensive player in the league. He's paid to be all-pro, and he's not even playing at a Pro Bowl caliber. He's not a bad player. It's not the Debo situation. Debo has been playing like a straight-up terrible player. A guy that shouldn't be on the field. Bosa is still a really good player, but he's just been a really good player, not a great or elite player. And if you're paid the highest of anybody on your side of the ball, you got to be at the very minimum great.
Rusty says Bosa is slowed down by the bags of cash and gold we gave him. He's got 7 sacks in 12 games. Leonard Floyd, by the way, has 8.5 sacks in 15 games for the Niners. Yeah, I would like to see more out of Bosa. No question about it. To whom much is given, much is expected, as I recently told my son. He's got to be better. When you pay guys a premium, they have to produce at a premium level. And right now, we haven't. Period. End of story. Mike McDaniels, watching on Facebook, says, minus Purdy and Trent, what lineman starts on any other team? You got a first-round wide receiver who doesn't know where the line of scrimmage is. Why do we blame Brock, who led a ton of nobodies in college, and then blame when he's supposed to be surrounded by at least NFL starting talent, yet has practice squad guys? We knew what he was. He's a play extender who can be very good with at least top 10 talent around him. I would blame whoever the quarterback was for the Pearsall thing, like Levin and I talked about that night. It's partly on the quarterback once you realize there's a problem to look before the ball is snapped. Is everybody on the line of scrimmage? We've seen other quarterbacks do it. They motion guys back. They motion guys up. It sucks for the quarterback that they have to also add that on top of the pile of other stuff they have to worry about, but that's the job.
Yeah, I mean, it's also all the wide receivers. Anybody that has that, not the offensive line, because they got to be watching to see who they have to pick up. But any of the receivers, whether it's if the tight end is lined out wide, which I think on one of those Kittle was, they need to look and be like, oh, somebody's not up there, and get the guy that's supposed to be stepped up. And it's a rookie, so you should be looking for that. That should be giving you extra, that's a mental note. It's a rookie. He just made a mistake and didn't line up correctly. Let me double check to make sure he's lined up correctly. The fact nobody did that is getting right to the point of what I've been harping on all year. Leadership. Where is it?
And where is I need to see more T's crossed and I's dotted from this team next year. I need to see more on the details, on the nose, right? Like I remember a couple years ago in the playoff game against the Cowboys. The Cowboys are trying at the end of the game to come back, and they throw a pass to, I think it was a tight end. And Mooney Ward comes down and he tackles the tight end. And he's pushing the tight end backwards as the tight end goes out of bounds. And right away, Mooney Ward is signaling to the ref, he was moving backwards, run the clock, keep the clock going. Because he knew that if the offensive guy is going backwards as he goes out of bounds, they don't stop the clock for that. That level of detail I have not seen from the 49ers this year. And that drives me nuts because that is something that should be there regardless of injury or whatever. Like you can cross those T's and dot those I's during the week, regardless of who is there. And it hasn't been there this year, and it was there in years past.
So you bring up a thing that's in recent years become an aggravating point for me. This is a little off topic, but has to do with your talking. You talked about the rule where if you're going backwards as an offensive player, the clock winds. Mm-hmm. What I don't get is why that's not used to their advantage for the player, for the situations where the offense is on the field
and they're
wanting the clock to run, and you see mistakes every week. There's a few of them where somebody goes out of bounds because the defensive player drives them out of bounds and they can't get down in bounds. Okay, just give yourself up and let yourself be driven backwards. If you're driven backwards, whether you go down in bounds or out of bounds, the clock winds. So stop fighting and give it up. Like if you're worried, oh, this guy's driving me towards the sideline, I need to keep the clock running. Okay, just let him push you over. You went backwards. Like I don't understand why they don't use that to their advantage. Every time I see somebody run out of bounds when they're wanting the clock to be running, and it's because they're fighting with the guy and they can't fall forward, it drives me nuts.
Yeah, your point is well taken, but you completely diverted us from where we were.
It's a sore subject for me, okay?
It took me right away from the 49ers there. As usual, Levin grabs the wheel and steers the show into a bridge embankment. I want to get to this question. This is another one from our friend Hugh Jassel. It's not just a down season, Hugh writes. There's nothing positive about the team going into next year. And I get why it can feel like that sometimes, especially watching some of the stupid things this team does where it's penalty after penalty after penalty. But that's not true, Hugh. There are some things that are positive about the team going into next year. Number one, first and foremost, hopefully Christian McCaffrey will be back, and hopefully Brandon Ayuk will be back. That's a very positive thing for me, especially Ayuk, because he's supposed to be one of the guys that's part of the next core. Okay. You still have a young quarterback, Brock Purdy. I mean, I think he's going to get signed, so he's going to be there. He's not a bad quarterback. Yes, I don't think he's an elite guy, but he's certainly not a bad quarterback. We've seen this team get to a Super Bowl with him. That is a good thing. Not every team has even that at quarterback. A lot of them don't. That is a very good thing. And they have a full complement of draft picks this offseason. And you may scoff at that, and I get it. But the facts are the facts. They just had a very, very good draft last year. If they can have anything resembling that again, now you have 2 years of productive draft classes with some of the veterans that are still there. I think that's a very positive thing to build off of.
It's hard to see the daylight when you're 2 weeks away and you're staring at one of the best teams in the NFL having a historically great offensive campaign.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to see that light. But the moment that final game ends, you're going to wake up the next day and go, who are they going to release? Who are they going to sign?
Yep.
Who are they going to draft? And you're going to start getting excited about the possibilities. That's a simple fact. The draft is going to be exciting in a way that we haven't had in 3 years since Trey Lance, because it's going to be a top 10 pick in all likelihood. And the offseason might actually be enjoyable for once, because if they sign Purdy early, or at least by the draft, then there is no black cloud hanging over this team of when is this guy going to sign? When is this guy going to sign?
Mm-hmm.
The only potential black cloud I think that could happen is they announce that they are going to trade Debo and he will definitely not be back with the team, but no trade comes to fruition, and they just sit and they go into after the draft mode with, well, he's going to be traded at some point, and you have to just sit and wait, and Debo's sounding off on social media all off season and all this stuff. But, it just becomes one of those situations where that's the black cloud. But that's one I would take 10 times out of 10 over, will this guy be signed or will we trade this great player? Because them saying Debo will not be back puts a smile on my face. It's just, okay, make it happen when it happens. I don't care, because he's not my problem anymore.
I think there are plenty of things to be positive about. I completely agree with your assessment. The regular season ends. Yeah, we got to get through the playoffs, and I get all that. But playoffs are still fun, even if your team is not in it. I think I enjoy watching the playoffs because of all the stories that end up happening and get written. And then when the offseason comes, it's going to be like, whoa. We're going to have literally could be every day you wake up, you check your phone. Oh my God, this happened. This guy's traded. This guy's released. What's going to happen? It's going to be different in a way that we have not had around here in San Francisco in a few years. At least I think so. Now, Heineman says Mayoko mentioned they're probably running it back. I feel like Matt has gone both ways. I know at one point he said Debo's probably back, and then they had the Rams game, and he said, hey, I don't think Debo's going to be back next year. So who knows? But I think there are going to be some big, meaningful changes. I really do. I don't think there's any illusion this year about well, we were close, so let's try and keep it together for one. Nope, you weren't close. You didn't make the playoffs. You didn't have a winning record. I think they will react in kind and accordingly, and I hope that they do.
I hope we wake up to news about the offensive line every day.
Mm-hmm.
My number one thing I want in the draft is a tackle. Now, I don't believe in reaching, so I would love a pass rusher as well, but those are the two. And if you're a top 10 pick, there'll be one of those two sitting there. That if you have a top 10 pick and you want an offensive tackle or a pass rusher, one of those two will make it to you, whether you're the 10th pick or the first pick.
Hopefully. I have no idea what the draft class looks like this year. I don't know. I don't think that you go, well, we need a tackle or a pass rusher, so let's take one of these guys, even though we don't think they're very good. I don't like that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, this team, they went out and traded for Trent Williams. They didn't try to draft a left tackle. They traded for one. Do they try to trade for another left tackle? Who knows? I think there's a lot of things that they can do. I think this team has shown they're willing to get creative when they're motivated to make a move at a certain position. The question is just going to be how motivated they are to make that move at whatever position they happen to be looking at.
And there's one lesson that I learned from the end of the Harbaugh era. Never count out the possibility of early retirements.
Mm-hmm.
Does Trent, wouldn't necessarily be an early retirement, but is he going to retire? And that's why it's been so quiet on his front. I seriously doubt it because he seems like one of those obsessed people that won't go down until literally everybody in the league says, no, you're done. But does Christian McCaffrey have an offseason where like he tries to train and it hurts and he's like, you know what, I'm not going to do this. Clearly I can't. My Achilles is going to tear. I'm done. Does you know what I mean? There's possibilities here. I'm not expecting any of them. I'm not rooting for any of them unless Debo wants to retire. But it's one of those seasons that you've been pushing so hard for so long. You came so close. It's clearly over. They're going to retool. You could get some surprise retirements, and that's the way it was at the end of the Harbaugh era. Now you're throwing in a coach leaving and stuff, but people didn't see Patrick Willis retiring. Obviously, Chris Borland retiring. Glenn Coffey was
Glenn Coffey.
That's
Damn.
earlier. Yeah, I am struggling with mental capacity more than usual.
Oh, yes, that's going to make it into the year end. Thank you for that. I can't write. That's the problem. My right side is terrible. 46-45. I got to remember that. Lee Ving says, we're banking on the health of Christian McCaffrey. Here's what I'm banking on, Lee. I'm banking on the health of Christian McCaffrey or Elijah Mitchell or Jordan Mason or Isaac Guerrero. I don't think they're going to have 4 running backs go down next year. That's what I'm banking on.
I'm not banking on Eli Mitchell being around for starters.
Yeah, he may not be.
Yeah. But if Jordan Mason comes back and Isaac Guerrero comes back, yeah, I'm not really addressing the running back room. If none of those 3 can stay healthy, so be it, I guess, is kind of the situation you run into. Jordan Mason getting hurt kind of changes where I was, but the way it was going in the first half of the season, I was in the belief that if I'm Jordan Mason, I tell my agent, get me out of here. I have only a handful of years to be a starting running back in the NFL. I have proven I'm a starting running back in the NFL. I want on a team that at the very least will give me opportunities because this team has a belief that Christian McCaffrey gets every single touch no matter what if he's healthy.
Yeah, the problem is, okay, great. So then his agent says, Jordan Mason wants to trade. And the 49ers are like, nope. And that's the end of Jordan. Like, you don't have any power, Jordan Mason. You're the 3rd string running back. You don't have any power. Shut up. Also, who's going to give up anything of value for a backup running back? Get the hell out of here.
Keep saying he's the 3rd. He was not going to be, Eli Mitchell was not going to be the 2nd string. Jordan Mason was getting 2nd string carries over him in training camp.
We would have seen it. Kyle loves his vets. He loves his guys. He's 2nd string.
Eli Mitchell can't be one of his guys. He hasn't gotten to use him in 4 years.
He was when as a rookie, he used them a ton.
Because everybody else got hurt. He just used Jordan Mason a ton. Why? Because everybody else got hurt.
But once you prove that to Kyle, then you become you get in the circle of trust. And I think Eli Mitchell was there. Valerie says, Christian McCaffrey will be back and better than ever. It takes generally 4 weeks to condition and get into football shape. We started seeing him look like himself against the Bills, and that was 4 games. And remember, the injury that he has now is not an Achilles injury. The injury that he has now has nothing to do with that. They seem to hold up just fine. He landed directly on his knee on the friggin' frozen ground in Buffalo and busted up his knee, which I don't know if you saw the video, Levin. There was a video where he went to like a children's hospital or something, and he had like a full leg, looked like one of those kind of like Velcro wrap around. I don't want to call it a cast, but it was like a Velcro wrap around his leg.
It's an air brace.
Oh, is that the technical term for it?
I think it's an air brace. Yeah.
Why did you say that like everybody should know that? It's an air brace.
Well, you recognize it, right? Do you not have a curious bone in your body? Do you not go, huh? I see that a lot on athletes. Maybe I should know what it's called.
No, it just means they're hurt in my head. Oh, okay, that body part's not feeling good. I don't need to know that it's an
What kind of brace did you use for your shoulder?
Or
sling.
I had a sling. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't an air brace. Should I have gotten an air brace? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying it's called a sling. That's a term. If you say, "Oh, I have a sling," and you're not talking to somebody that's had a shoulder injury or follows sports, they're gonna go, "A slingshot? What are you talking about?"
A sling has been around for 1 billion years. People know what slings are. If you said air brace to the average person, they'd be like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Randy Galella says,
You're calling yourself the average person? I get it now.
Randy says, send Dre and Trent to Germany. Seemed to work for Christian McCaffrey. I'll say that. By the way, I should mention, because I didn't actually mention this, the spread in this game, the 49ers are getting points at home, as they should. I believe they are getting 3.5 points from the Detroit Lions.
As they should? Why should they?
Why should the Niners be getting points?
Yeah.
Because they're terrible.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. I thought you were saying they were being gifted, because this to me should be like a 6-7 point.
Oh, yeah.
So I thought you were saying they're getting the traditional 3-point discount for being the home team.
No, usually
kind of, you know what I mean? Usually it's like a 3-point swing for being the home team.
Right. Usually they're the favorites. The Niners would be the favorites because they're the home team. No. That is not the case. They should not be the favorite. Detroit is the favorite by 3.5. I would smash the Lions in this game. Like, are you kidding me? You think Detroit's going to win by less than a touchdown? Are you out of your mind? They are going to run, because even if they're winning at the end of the game, they're going to run it up.
Yeah.
They're going to. It's going to be like that scene in Remember the Titans. Herman, leave no doubt. Run it up. That's what they're going to do.
It is, yeah. I would be hammering the Detroit Lions bet. I don't care if it was 7 point. I would still be hammering. That's the more likely scenario. This is exacerbated by the fact what I was getting at was, why should the Niners be trusted at home? They have been horrible at home. Brock Purdy's home road splits this year are terrible. He has been terrible at home. So, yeah, the Niners should be heavy underdogs in a home game. I'm surprised it's as little as it is.
Niners are 4-4 at home this year, 2-5 on the road. So they're actually better at home. They're still not good. They're just better at home. But yeah, no, I know the Lions have a ton of injuries on defense. I don't care. We've seen the 49ers offense sputter against bad defenses. No, man. Take the Lions in this one. I would easily give the points. Take them now. It'll probably go up before game time. I would keep that going. Doesn't matter. Take the Lions. Whoever you take, though, please do it with BetUS. You can receive 150% on your first deposit and 125% on your second and third deposit, all the way up to $2,000. Just use code YouTube150. That's code YouTube150. And remember, with BetUS, you get 24/7 personalized service, 365 days a year. You called them up yesterday on Christmas. They would be there for you, ready and willing to help. So please use BetUS and use our code YouTube150. Anything else you want to get to in today's show about this game or just the 49ers in general?
Now, I'll leave you with a stat.
All right.
We saw earlier this show, we talked about how they're averaging 16 points recently as an offense. If you're the type that's saying, well, yeah, they got so many people missing, I don't really care. Why are you bringing this back up?
Mm-hmm.
As you said, they have enough talent to be doing much better than that. And to prove that point, I bring up the 2017 Brian Hoyer, CJ Beathard 49ers, who averaged 20.7 points per game.
Yeah. I even saw Grant had a tweet. It was like Chip Kelly's 49ers average.
Whoa, you saw a Grant tweet?
Somebody else took a screenshot of it. But I think he unblocked me, though. But Chip Kelly's 49ers average like 19.5 points per game, something like that. Like, think about it. Like, man, There's just no excuse for that. And as Eating Kneecaps notes, the Lions have beat their opponents by an average of 12 points per game this year. So why then are they only favored by 3.5? See, this is where I get into trouble because I look at that and I'm like, Vegas is a bunch of idiots. I'm taking the Lions. And then I do, and I lose my money. So they're way smarter than me. I get it. But this seems like they're way off, which they never are.
Yeah. That cost me my whole wallet because it'll be like, well, everything I'm betting on this week, I'm going to throw that game in as my parlay to at least improve the odds a little bit because it's definitely happening. And then every single one of them loses because it doesn't happen.
Oh, man. 2 more games to go.
That's a glimpse into my betting life. That's my betting life.
Pretty good this year, Michelle and I, with our best bets every week. We'll be back tomorrow making our best bets for this one. As I always say, even if the Niners aren't good, the money you can win is still green. Sometimes use your knowledge of the 49ers to bet against them and make some money. It doesn't matter. At least you can capitalize off of it anyway. But we'll be back with the best bets tomorrow. We'll have the instant reaction show on Monday. Are you going to join us for the instant reaction show on Monday?
I will be working nights.
That's a big fat no.
Yeah, you'll be all on your own to talk about how the Niners got beat by 20 plus at home. I wonder when the last time they got beat that bad at home.
There will be some anger on Monday night, and I will be there. We'll get through it together. It'll be a Niners therapy session, everybody. But please join us for that. We're there live after every Niners game. We're live every single weekday, assuming I have 2 functioning arms. And we do a 49ers in 5 news update, which will be back tomorrow morning as well. We'll get the train rolling again here as I have a little reprieve. Thank you, everybody, for cutting me some slack. I appreciate it. Levin, thanks for playing hurt today as well. I know you're getting over COVID, so I appreciate that. Thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Once again, if you want to sign up for BetUS, use promo code YouTube150. Quickly, Levin, what was the best Christmas gift you got yesterday?
The only one I got?
Sure.
Pens. I love pens. But yeah, I don't really do. My kid gets Christmas gifts because I had the feeling of being left out because I didn't celebrate Christmas growing up. And I won't let her have that. So she got a bunch of Christmas gifts, but I don't really do Christmas gifts.
Somebody got you a pad. Could have said the pad.
That's true. Well, that came like a week early. So in my mind, yeah, it's more like an end of the year present is what I think of it as.
Yeah.
So that did not pop in my head, but apparently my kid said, well, Daddy needs a present. What do you mean Daddy doesn't have a present? So she picked out a couple pins at the store because, yeah, I have an obsession with pins.
What kind of pen?
They're the I forget the name of them. They're the standard ballpoint ones that are silver and black. They've been around for a long time. They also come as a mechanical pencil that look identical to the pen. No,
this is the best pen of all time. It is.
No, it's a good one. I know what one it is. Let's put it this way. I have fountain pens. Like actual fountain pen. Yeah.
You would. This is the best pen. Pilot G207. They're so damn good. I've got a whole rainbow. I just keep buying them. As soon as I finish them, I keep buying them. They are the best pen. Pilot is not paying me for this. I'm telling you, everybody.
The best pen you can buy at a regular store, they're newer, are the metal Sharpie ballpoint gel pens. They are very fine point, which I like. They write as well as those gel pens. Yes, I know what pen you're talking about. Those are they write very easily. They write like that, but they're metal. They have weight to them. They got good cushion. I like metal pens.
I do like a little weight, not going to lie. Anyway, send me some pens, somebody. I love pens, and I write constantly, especially when I'm taking notes on the 49ers and how bad they are. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday, everybody. Go Niners, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.